This here is the Springfield 1873 question mark Bannerman special, I'm going to call it. And what I mean by that, and in Inflatable Guide they warn you about this. At one point in time these guns were declared obsolete, the government sold them. And back in the old days, gun laws were different. There were no restrictions whatsoever on any type of firearms or weapons until like 1935. Bannerman was a surplus arms dealer based out of New York City, and he was made famous by, he went and purchased, he used to purchase at auction or whatever, large stockpiles of used obsolete weapons, mostly military ones, which were up for sale at different points in time in the history of the United States. Like he used to buy a lot of Civil War stuff that was left over, sold off as surplus, and he bought cannons, or, you know, the shells to go with it, muskets, rifles, and he sold them internationally. He also, when they were phasing out the Springfield Trapdoors, he also bought up huge inventory of spare parts, pieces, old guns, guns declared as scrap or damaged. And what else Bannerman was famous for is he used to take all these miscellaneous parts and slap together some sort of a usable weapon out of his parts, which basically I think this gun is like that, and that's why they were called the Bannerman Specials. They're not, because it's a parts gun. Some people call them mixed masters or whatever, but basically you will run across this, and be warned and be careful. Do not pay top dollar for a parts gun, okay? Because it's just parts. It has no collector's value or anything. The reason I bought this gun is this has an earlier high arch breech, and what I mean by that is we'll compare it. This is the early style 1873 breech, probably in the first years of manufacturing. This is a standard 1873 barrel, which from the markings, the proof markings, it doesn't marry up with this high arch breech. The early ones shouldn't have this type of proof marking at the time period. And actually, Inflatable warns about guns like this, so it must have been a common item. And the receiver looks like it's been worked on, ground, screwed around with, welded up or something. It may be an earlier 50-70, like a model 1870 receiver, because there's no serial number on this receiver, where it should be for 4570. And it doesn't look like it's been repaired. So this could be a receiver from another model modified to fit on this. Now, this has play like our other 5070, but the lockup is tight. So I'm going to use this gun, take measurements, investigate why this happens, and try to repair my other gun that has loose breech, or tune it up. The bore on this is real nice, but leaded. And also this bore has no pitting, nothing, but the last inch of this bore, the end is worn out. Now, Wolf in his book talks about that. It tells you how when you're purchasing a gun, they use a little bullet check to check for this muzzle wear. I don't know how detrimental it is. I haven't done enough research, and it's not really in a condition ready to fire, and that's what we'll work on later. Also, there was a splice in the stock, which it's not a crack. It looks like here it's cut perfect. It's like a splice made from two different stocks. I'm not sure. You know, I have no idea. It could have been done years ago, you know, but you got to be careful. I really didn't tie up a lot of money in this, so I didn't overpay, but still, it's not what I really expected. The rear sight, now this one has the Buffington sight, the later sight's put on there, but the sight looks all bashed in and beat up. It's kind of loose when it sits there, which shouldn't do that. And it looks like it got bent and somebody whacked it with a damn hammer to tighten it up again. So this gun's got a lot of problems, but like I said in my other video, I don't have to worry about damaging the collector's piece, and I can be a little aggressive when it comes to solving some problems with barrel letting and that with this gun. And I will come in and take a closer look. Okay, as we look at our Bannerman Special, it has the early markings for the 1873 with the eagle and arrows on it. And it is what they call a high arch breech, which is similar to the style on the older guns, which has this high arch in there, where on later models it doesn't. These guns were tweaked and changed slightly from over time. It was like a constant development with this gun. So you'll find them in different stages in that. Now as we go into the receiver, we see here, you can see it's a little uneven, like welded up, and there are no serial numbers. Okay, which leads me to believe this is a receiver modified to fit that breech block. But it locks up tight and good. We'll take a look at our other receiver and you can tell the difference. You see there's like little steps in the serial number. And where this receiver's been, when you pull it out, you can see it's been modified or something. So this is a parts gun. Stock's in good shape until we come up to here where this is where our splice is, and I took it apart, I didn't even see it, and there's two little nails holding this together. So this is going to be another stock repair video and project, try to repair this. You can get replacement stocks for these guns. Blank, about 90%. Machine costs about $325 from suppliers, so it's not cheap. Okay. Now here's the Buffington sight as compared to the Buckhorn sight. This is a kind of complicated sight. This is the last sight model they used, and I will get into detail on how to use it, but that's the difference between the sights. This is the earlier model, and you will find older guns with these sights on there. Like I said, they changed the ammunition. These sights are more or less set for your 400 grain bullet, and then when they went to the 500 grain, these were the sights used. And it does have the proper blade, which is taller as compared to that one, which is noticeably, if you put them side by side, you can see this is 40-50 thousandths taller than that. So you have to make sure you got the right sights, front sights married up with the proper rear sights. And the government would have changed them depending on where the gun was. Now this came with some other type of ramrod in there, which once you locked it in, you see the little notch, that metal piece where the wood's chipped. That's what latches into that groove on the ramrod. The ramrod in this gun was improper, and once it locks in there, you can't get it out. You got to pull on it, and they actually chip the wood doing it. So we got problems there. And like I said, the muzzle's warm when you measure it about that far, probably from being cleaned. The rifling is good and there's no pitting, but it's just a barrel that was cared for but shot a lot and has some wear in it. So this here is what I call my Bannerman Special. It's a parts gun, and you know, it's not perfect, but there are some good points to it and some bad ones. But we didn't have too much into it. You know, I wish I could have got it for a little less, but this is going to be another project and some more repairs.